In the midst of uncertainty, our faith can struggle. Our walk becomes labored, our heart heavy. There's something about the unknown which seems to weaken us. It drains our patience and blurs our focus. Yet, in the middle of everything stands a faithful God. A God who's not swayed by the struggle, who isn't moved by the winds of chaos. A God who remains faithful even when our faith is fragile. It seems more difficult than ever to not worry about tomorrow. Yet that's exactly what God has asked us to do. For when we cast our burdens on Him, the troubles of the moment begin to fade. When we trust the plans He has for us, our fear begins to subside. When we fix our eyes on Jesus, the author and perfecter of our faith, our focus becomes consumed by clarity. Yes, we are in the midst of uncertainty, but we can be certain of one thing: God is faithful. And that is more than enough for tomorrow.
Being lost can be an anxious time. Every step makes us question ourselves, makes us worry about what is ahead, and if we're even going the right way. And our actions probably become a little more frantic. We get nervous, and our decisions are unwisely rushed, and we hurry to try to make things right again, all in an effort to, I think, to regain our sense of certainty and our sense of control. Oh, we race off, often when things like this happen, in a helter-skelter sort of fashion. We take unnecessary risks, and we often get ourselves even more lost. Not knowing the way can be unnerving. What do we do now? You know, that picture of the pathless landscape is an icon for, I think, for all those times when we just don't know which way to go, when we just don't know what to do. It reminds me of that well-known passage, you know, in the Gospel of John, when Jesus announces to his followers that he, their leader, is about to leave them and go ahead to his Father's house, he proclaims, which has many rooms, in order to get things ready for them. And he's sort of cluing them in that he expects to die here. He tells them not to worry. And they will know the way. And you get this response right away. Really? Are you kidding? Jesus, well, why don't we read what goes on, and you'll hear what their reaction is. In John 14:5 and 6 it says, and Thomas, remember Thomas, the doubting one, of course, is what we remember him for. Thomas said to him, Lord, we do not know where you are going, so how can we know the way? And Jesus answered, I am the way and the truth and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. Okay. When we're getting all anxious, we don't know the way, we hear, I am the way, I am the truth, I am the life. I am the way, I am the way, I am the way. Okay. And I love how he says, I'm going home. I'm not going off to the wilderness ahead of you and to this scary place. I'm going home to my Father in heaven, is how he puts it. I'm going home. Basically, he says, you know what, I'm going to already be there, and I'm going to be ready to help you when you get to the afterlife. And it's not a scary place. So do not be afraid. I'm the way. As he stepped off the map into uncharted territory, Meriwether Lewis discovered that what was in front of him was nothing like what was behind him. And that what had brought him to this point in the journey would take him no further. And Lewis faced a daunting decision. What would he do now? What would he have his corps of discovery do now? No doubt his heart was pounding and his mind is spinning. I mean, you may recall that Lewis and Clark and their Corps of Discovery were looking for a water route, okay? And now they had run out of water. How do you ever canoe in the mountains? The answer is you don't. Oh, you don't. I mean, if you want to continue forward, you change. You adapt. Meriwether Lewis looked at the miles and miles, oh my gosh, and miles of snow-covered peaks and knew that to continue his journey, he would have to change his entire approach. Now, the same is true for all who are called to move beyond the boundaries of whatever is known. We must go from being river rats to becoming mountain goats. We keep on course with the same goal, of course, but we change absolutely everything required to make it through this uncharted territory. We have to ditch what we've got. Basically, we got to ditch our canoes. We have to probably ask for help, find horses, cross one set of mountains to find another set of mountains, keep crossing these mountains, these unmarked mountains, all along the way. And we have to let go, learn as we go, and keep going no matter what. Yeah, for Lewis and Clark, the winter was upon them. And so maybe spending a winter preparing to just sort of head off the map, so to speak, must have provided some opportunity for discussing what to do next, to strategize and to plan for all the possibilities, the contingencies that lay ahead. But the reality was that there was no clear path forward. They were going where they didn't know they were going. They had maybe a few notes, okay? A few notes that they picked up from a handful of contacts, fur traders maybe along the way, but they needed more. Now, one contact was a French-Canadian trapper named Toussaint Charbonneau, whom they quickly took on as a guide through the mountains. Come join us, please help us. But Charbonneau turned out to offer, let's just say, very little, very few skills, and even far less value to their party. However, one of Charbonneau's wives, he had several, was a 16 or 17-year-old woman from the Shoshone tribe who turned out to serve as quite helpful, actually the most valuable interpreter and guide they could have come upon. Her name was Sacagawea. Sacagawea, this Native American woman, would probably become the most famous member of the party next to Lewis and Clark themselves. Now, while we don't know if the captains were, being clever and calculating when they were asking Charbonneau and his family to join them, but we do know that the sight of a woman in the Corps of Discovery, a nursing woman at that, who gave birth that very first winter to a baby boy on February 11th, 1805, to be precise, having her with them made potentially aggressive war parties do a double take. I mean, later that fall, William Clark wrote in his journal, "The sight of this Indian woman, wife to one of our troop, confirmed those people of our friendly intentions, as no woman ever accompanies a war party of Indians in this quarter." And while they didn't take time to paint a full picture of Sacagawea as a person, there is no doubt as to her value as a member of the team. Her presence and support throughout the challenges of this unfamiliar territory created a truly unique leadership dynamic. For example, a month after she joined the party, Lewis mentions her fortitude and resolution in his journal. 2 months into the journey, they worried about losing their valuable translator when Sacagawea fell ill with a fever. When the captains needed horses, they turned to Sacagawea, who led them to the Shoshone and brokered the purchase for them. And when her tribe then begged her to stay with them, she declined, insisting on going with the Corps and continuing the journey forward. Later, Clark would praise her as the pilot who took them through this vast unknown wilderness. Indeed, the only member of the Corps of Discovery who was not in uncharted territory when they crossed this continental divide and headed over the Rocky Mountains was Sacagawea, this teenage mother with her nursing baby, because after all, Sacagawea was not venturing into unexplored territory. She was already home. She was already home, just as Jesus was saying he was. That dynamic provides for any leader the lens to rethink assumptions regarding traditional roles, structures, dynamics. In short, when you go off the map, the rules have to change. This will likely be the case for churches in our foreseeable future. So we'd best be okay with not knowing the way. Being okay, still moving forward. Some of our ways of being church are apt to be outdated and need to be transformed. And this could very well be what the Apostle Paul was trying to get across to his young churches, who were also going through a large change from what their Jewish practices were at that time. And so he wrote to this young Christ-following church the following. He says in Romans 12, verse 2, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your minds, so that you may discern what is the will of God, what is good and acceptable and perfect." What is the will of God for us? for the world today? Well, maybe it's easier to start with what it is. It is not. It is certainly not for us like, oh, we should all be closing our doors, though maybe it's time to combine things. It's not to cease being voices for justice. That's not what this is saying we got to change. Or stop feeding our neighbors near and far, around the block, around the world. It's not saying stop doing that. It's not saying give up being a source of hope and love and joy and peace to all we meet, to do away with the coming together to worship. No, you still should come together for worship and to care especially for each other. And it is certainly not for us to close our eyes, though, to a changing world that is around us and not respond at all. We are not adapting to merely survive. We have a mission that is calling us to thrive and to bring life to the world. How we go about doing all these things may have to change, but that doesn't change why we are doing these things in the first place. We are called to adapt to a changing world because we are called to reach a changing world with the good news of Christ. Open up your expectations. Maybe let go of some and embrace some new ones. Our methods may have to be adjusted, like getting out of our boats and putting on our hiking boots instead. And we may not have a clear pathway forward, but that's okay. We must be ready to then sometimes go down the wrong path, discover that was a mistake, but you didn't know it ahead of time, learn from it, turn around, backtrack a bit, and then keep moving forward down another way. Along the way, we should be sharing with each other what we've discovered. Don't go that way. That led to a dead end. Let's all try something over here or over here or over here, okay? Share what we're learning along the path. And you know what? Eventually, Lewis and Clark did find their way all the way to the Pacific, and so can we into this new way of being. And this applies to our spiritual life individually also. Now is the time for you to be especially intentional, I think, about your spiritual faith journey. Yeah, the landscape has changed, and actually it's been changing for a long time, even before the pandemic kicked in. It's been changing for decades. A very slow change that the pandemic escalated. And if the program that you and I found to be so personally enriching in the past is no longer being offered, well, what will you do? What are you going to do to keep your faith healthy, to keep your faith strong and alive and ever moving closer to Christ's way? Yeah, we can feel sad about it. We can lament it. Oh my gosh, it's no longer here. Yeah, you can. It's a sign of you treasured what has been. And I shared last time we were together how I am sad that and that and that and that and that are not part of the journeys anymore for people or for my own self. I still miss some of those ways. But I know that I must not dwell just so sad that that's not there anymore. I should not be dwelling in a self-created place of bitterness and disappointment. No. Christ is ever calling me onward, and so I have kept finding new ways to keep being a God follower, and I hope you are too. Sign up for something that is happening. It may be new. Give it a try. To take a risk in maybe a different kind of spiritual experience. I have no idea if I'm going to like all this. I am joyfully surprised when I walk away at the end and go, that was great. It was beyond my expectations. Wonderful. I found Christ again in the midst there. And share what worked for you with others. You're going out, they've scouted things, and they're going to tell you what worked for them. Listen to these things and keep finding ways that your soul can be fed and get yourself closer to God. You know, I'm here at a Good Samaritan United Methodist now, and I would not be here today if I stayed where I was and simply grumbled about it. In conclusion, the Apostle Paul wrote the following to his friends in Corinth. They were splitting apart over non-essentials, just petty things. And he places the burden of their spiritual health back on them. He says in the second letter to the Corinthians, 13th chapter, test yourselves to make sure that you are solid in the faith. Don't drift along taking everything for granted. Give yourselves regular checkups. You need first-hand evidence, not mere hearsay, that Jesus Christ is in you. Test it out, and if you fail the test, do something about it. Paul doesn't mince words, does he? Yeah. Do something about it. So, my friends, the challenge is in front of us. It's to navigate through the unknown. This likely will require, like I said, let's just call it a tutorial, shall we? A tutorial of trial and error, and which involves observing, and it involves interpreting, and it involves experimenting. One should expect a lot of trial and error. If you want to call it a mistake, I think it's a learning opportunity. It doesn't mean it's wrong. Maybe it just means it was a misstep along the way because it didn't quite work. But these experiments are mostly about learning and discovery and less about, got to have steady success every time we go forward. No. Because you know why? Because our plan A is rarely God's plan A. We only get to God's plan A after I think we've gone through our own. I think I tried plan A, plan B, I've tried C, D, E, and F, and G. I finally found G. There's God's plan. Yeah. But you're not going to get there by just thinking it's going to come instantly. And so we need to, if you want to put it that way, fail as soon as we can so that we can learn as quickly as possible the way that Christ would have us go. We're not going to know the way. That's okay. We have a Lord who has gone before us and is already home. Christ is already there. Because why? Because he is the way. He is the truth. He is